eyes. Breathe out your mouth. So we're going to make a U-shaped tongue like so. We're going to suck in air through a U-shaped tongue. And breathe out the nose. Good meditation if you got a headache or you got a fever. Take a deep breath in and just relax. Good. Good. How you feeling today, right, Joe?
Like I told you, not feeling a little bit under the weather, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, it is that
So
time
yeah,
of the season. That's why this breath work I just gave you is really
yes.
good for helping cool the fever down and helps kind of like incite certain chemicals in your body to like activate the immune system,
Okay.
especially the white blood cells, And of course,
Okay. Okay.
this according to yogic science, and they've been doing this for 4,000 years, so
Exactly. Exactly.
they got it pretty down pat. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
So, but today we're going to talk about multiculturalism. When I say that word, what does that mean to you?
That means that I guess you could say, in a sense, I mean, a part of it is, the yogi mentality in the West, you know what I'm saying? Or the African American culture in America, or the Italian culture in other parts of the world, I guess. I find it basically speaking, as a form of globalization. Both of us being children of parents of different ethnicities. I think we should know quite well what multiculturalism is from the internal point of view. What about you? What do you think about it when you think about that term?
Well, I think, like you
You hear
said,
that?
us being multicultural, of having a mother of Filipino descent and a father who was African American, and we did this in the 70s and 80s, and we're kind of like anomalies back then. So
Yeah,
we're the first of the breed. So, but what it means
yeah.
to me is just like the integration of cultures, the sharing of
Hmm.
different types of cultures under one household, or maybe in
Hmm.
different types of communities and whatnot. So,
Okay.
and now you see it now, especially when you live in big cities. I don't know so much in Italy where it is a little bit more homogenous, but like big cities like
Yeah.
Los Angeles and New York, you got people from all over
Hmm.
the world, and they're intermixing, and
Yeah.
whether it's in communities such as a yoga
Uh-huh.
class, or such as their workforce or their work environment. There's people from all different colors everywhere here. So
Okay.
I think it's beautiful.
Okay. Okay. I was going to say, do you think that's a positive thing, a net positive or a net negative? Because I know a lot of people think of it kind of as a net negative too. Seeing the fact that by blending a lot of cultures, sometimes you take away from the essence of the original culture. I mean, how many, just even talk about something so simple and insipid as food.
Mhm.
Try going to, try bringing, a person from Mexico to Taco Bell for the first time. You're like, what the fuck is this? What is this? This is sacrilege. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, and that how can I say it? That taking the other culture and blending it with yours, yeah, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, because it does help us become more open minded to what's out there. But what happens to the original culture?
Well,
Italian food is considered one of the best in the world. I'm not going to say it's the best, but I'm going to say it is one of the best. But now they're being bombarded with sushi restaurants, kebab shops, things like that. American fast food restaurants. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Because it gives you more versatility. But when does versatility take away from your individuality? That's what I want to know. Or
yeah,
is there such thing as individuality? It's just something we invented.
it is definitely something we invented, and like going back to, we always talk about like tribalism and whatnot. So we have our
Mm-hmm.
tribes, and our tribes have like our certain identities, or certain things that that marks us or identifies us. But what is the original culture? The culture is always
Uh-huh.
changing. I mean, first of all, the original man comes from Africa, either
Yeah.
Kenya or Ethiopia. So
Yeah.
we're not seeing that culture anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
because a lot of those people have been wiped out through genocide and whatnot, through
Yeah.
colonialism and whatnot. But that's another podcast. But you know, it's always changing and it's always evolving. I think we get so
Mhm.
caught up in the identity of this is who we are, this is what we're about, that sometimes we can kind of lose, what is the true essence of being a human being, or true essence of being a being in our on our planet. And it's like most Def say, I'm a resident of planet Earth. That's what he says.
Mhm.
So and then
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
and so, like, if we look at it more like that, then everything just adds to the pot. It doesn't take away. It's not a zero sum
Okay.
game.
So you don't think that there comes a lot of cultural appropriation? Like
Culture.
I'm not saying I don't care about it at all, but I know if you find somebody just wearing a dashiki for no reason because they say they like the colors, some of you are like, oh, that's effed up, what I'm saying? Or if you might feel, you feel somebody wearing Indian garb, Hindu garb, you're like, oh, that's fucked up. Why are you wearing a turban if you're not sick? You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, saying that might get on that train, you could kind of feel it because, but again, like I said, probably we're a little less sensitive to this because of the fact that we were brought up in a multicultural home. But you can't lie and say that it's not easy to understand if it feels like someone is invading a culture or your culture, um, and it could be from the fact of their admiration for your culture, but at the same time, it creates a precedent. Let's talk about a lot of people bring up that I bring up like Eminem and Mac Miller versus people like Machine Gun Kelly and Post Malone. You know what I'm saying? You got Mac and M who are like they love the culture. You know what I'm saying? They don't see anything about it. They're not misappropriating at all. Whereas the other two, the latter two are kind of figuring out, okay, this works for me. This can make me a quick buck. You know what I'm saying? I don't even care. And those who are in that culture that live it every day might feel a bit strange about that. You can kind of understand that. You see what I'm saying?
I can understand
So,
where people
uh,
I can understand where people are coming from, and I think to me, that cultural appropriation. I guess I'm pronouncing it properly. To me, it's like one of those
mhm.
woke terms, and I'm just like, I really I
Okay.
don't identify with it. I think you can look at it. I prefer to look at it as admiration versus anything. Like, they admire. If I
Yeah.
was a Rastafari and I saw a white dude with dreads, I'm like, dude, he's admiring the culture. Big ups,
Yeah.
big ups, big
Yeah.
ups,
Yeah.
big ups.
Yeah.
but
No, a
but
lot of people see it like that. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
other people might find it. They might find another way. Like, yo, you got your culture. Stay with yours. You know
But
what
it's,
I'm
it's,
saying?
it's usually like the white bloggers on Twitter that's upset.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Jamaican dudes aren't really upset that white dudes got dreads. It's usually like
Yeah. But don't. Well, yeah. I mean, but again, I have to,
like they be
that
tweeting.
wokeness.
Oh, I'm so upset. I'm
Yeah.
tweeting. I saw this white guy with
Yeah. No, but.
dreads. I feel so violated.
No, but you have to actually kind of be, you kind of have to vibe with them too, though. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do at least. I think about like, even though a lot of times it's kind of like I just want to feel good, so I'm gonna have to stick up for someone. I'm gonna say that's wrong, you know. But at the same time, that same sticking upness for others who aren't you was something that brought us to where we are today. You know what I'm saying? Definitely we wouldn't be African Americans. We wouldn't be or have a position that we have now hadn't been for even those few. Probably at that time was considered super woke. I don't know what the opposite of Uncle Tom is, but that's what they were. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So yeah.
but I think there's a time and place for everything. I think we did need that awareness at one time.
Okay.
Now, at the end and now, especially in America, I think too many people get caught up in race and all that shit. That's not really holding them back. Their lack of math
Uh-huh.
skills, their lack of education is holding them back. Their lack of perspective is holding them back. So these people that are so woke, they have such a drive that they really change the world. They can take that same energy and start volunteering in the inner cities. And I think that's
In those
I
communities,
think that's a better
yeah.
use of that energy
Yeah.
now, because it's not a
Uh-huh.
civil rights issue anymore. It's a lack of education issue now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
so
It's definitely become more of a human rights issue now. Yeah, definitely.
you know
Right. No, okay. Well, so my question is, and I think it's ironic what you said earlier. Thinking about it, all being derivative of the same place where there was no multiculturalism. There was just one culture, and after millennia, being separated and having
Mm.
different surroundings or whatnot, we've found ourselves where we're like really really different from different groups, different ethnicities, and now we're coming back again together and we're reblending that. Like I said, talking about it from your point of view, I find it beautiful in that sense, the fact that
Mm.
everything is cyclical. You know what I'm saying? We were once one, looking at the world from the same point of view. You know what I'm saying? After millennia, religion, wars, battles, and things of the such. We've got to the place where we're starting to blend those things back together again. And trying to weed out what's good and what's not good. But again, a lot of times proponents, they stick to, like we said before, that tribalism. Even though it is kind of like more of a macrocosmic tribe, the world coming back together again. But a lot of people see that as a lot of separation. And that's where the xenophobia comes out. That's where the racism and the prejudice comes out, or even the banter against people who want to try to indulge in a particular culture or not. It's possible because the way I look at it, like you said, I can see myself, going to a culture, going to a country or to a village in the boondocks, and just want to learn about that culture, and even I might even do some appropriation there, but it's just because I'm curious about it. That doesn't mean I'm going to like it. And I think that's one of the things that we forget about when we think about the ideal of multiculturalism, just like the ideal of globalization. Sorry, we don't have to accept everything from globalization.
Mm.
But the fact that it's there, we can utilize it, to our benefit, what works for us, because what doesn't work for us might work for someone else,
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with multiculturalism, I think, we're able to find out maybe if you're a big culinary freak. And so you love the French culture, the Italian culture, the Japanese culture, you love fashion, you love the French culture, the Milanese culture, whatever, what have you, And I think that's one of the things that we lose touch of when we think about is multiculturalism a negative spot for us? What about you? What do you think? Do you think that it's ironic that we're going back to the basics? Everything's starting to come back together again.
Well, I think everything always comes full circle, and that's that. I think that's just. I think if you want to go on some quantum physics discussion, I think that's just the nature of thing. Everything kind of returns to the source, And I think what we think is so different is really all the same. It's all good.
Okay.
And I know that's out there for a lot of our viewers out there. So I'll digress from that discussion. But I think overall, I think it's a good thing that we just be open to other cultures and learn from other cultures, and we can still and keep our own culture and whatnot. Also, I think it's not a zero-sum game. I think just because our nervous system is so hardwired to survive in life in a harsh world where there are limited resources, we think everything is zero-sum. So if we have one thing, it takes away from another. But you can have all of the above. You can have your culture and bring other cultures into the mix too, and it's great. It's like so many yes, these Tex-Mex such as Taco Bell is commercial. That's money involved. But there's a lot of fusion of Mexican and American food that's really good. There's a lot of fusion of Italian food and Japanese that's really good. There's a lot of fusion of different types of culinary things that make food really, really good. You can take the best of all worlds, I believe. So.
Definitely. That's why they try to take India.
Yeah.
And they took American because those spices, right? That's why same thing we're doing. Need them spices, son. No, but what I'm saying is, like I said, I agree with you completely. But I was saying earlier when the question I asked, I guess you could say I was being a bit polemic, and I was trying to be the devil's advocate. No, because I noticed that the rhetoric, however, does change. You take places like Sweden. Sweden is one of those places. In the last 10 years, they went from 9 million to 22 million, I think, in the country, or something like that. And crime has gone up considerably, blah 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 blah. And most of this rise in population has been due to the including of different races, or
like Muslim
people coming into
people from Muslim countries, Africans and northern Africans. A lot of Northern
East,
Africans.
East African, East European countries, they're taking a lot of war refugees, climate change refugees, and obviously, like, everybody can use whatever they want to as the excuse if you find the right statistics, but also at the same time, you can't deny the fact that that before this was a country with practically zero crime, and a lot of them, having more crime, and it's possible that even all that crime is just, immigrant on immigrant crime, it doesn't even affect the population. But the fact of the matter is that the people, a lot of the immigrant, or a lot of the actual natural citizens of Sweden are finding this a bit disturbing for them, you know what I'm saying? So, and this happens, we've seen it happen in America, we've seen it happen in so many places, how do we find the, I don't know, the ideals of society to shift their focus to say, what, we are all from the same place, we are all, saying, if a person is bad, if a person, saying, it doesn't matter where he's from, especially if the situation is good, a lot of people are bad because they come from a bad situation.
Yeah, Roger. I think you just hit it right on the nail. I think it is two different things. It's like multiculturalism is one thing, but having crime is another thing. So like, I don't want nobody to come into my home and causing crime and being rambunctious. So it's not about you being a Muslim or you being an East African. It's just about because you're fucking selling drugs outside my neighborhood, and I don't want that. And so, and it's
no, definitely.
So now it comes to like, it's not a multicultural issue. It's once again an education issue. These people are improperly educated, so they can't work in the workforce. So a lot of times, people are just coming. They're allowing their borders to be flooded with immigrants, but they're not getting the right immigrants, or they're not really indoctrinating immigrants into our society.
How do you choose the right immigrants? How do you choose the right immigrants?
Well, I think you should be the immigrants that can add some value to your community. You can't just bring like so like if they're refugees, I get it. Maybe they need safe places in the world. So maybe the UN can designate like areas in the world where it's not too populous, and let these refugees just kind of hang out for a while until their situation gets settled. But I think there should be a bridge program for immigrants to come to certain like powerhouse countries, like first world countries like America. So like, if you want to come to America and you're not like a PhD student or something like that, okay, cool. You got a 2-year program that you got to do. You got to follow all the steps. So once you come into America, once you come into Sweden, then you can add value to our community. But if you're just coming here with no education, can't speak the language, then you come from a country that is prone to criminal activity, then what you think you're going to do once you get to America? What you think you're going to do when you get to what's coming? And it's not fair to it's not fair to the people that are here. So
No, definitely, no. But the thing is, like I said again, that type of ideal gets, it gets pushed around like, oh, they're coming here, and whenever anyone comes, saying whether they're bringing the good or bad, or actually if they're bringing good, then we're only talking about that. But a lot of times, sometimes people might bring their great culture, like you said before, their genius, mind. But what if his son is a criminal? You know what I'm saying? I'm using the son as a personify the situation. What I'm saying is that people have baggage. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm gonna tell you right now. If I'm from, I don't know, but personally, I think that and I think most people, if I'm from any country that's reasonably prosperous, and my health nor my family's health or safety is in danger, and I'm earning very decently, especially for what saying, I'm not worried about coming to another place. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is one of the things, like you said before. I had a couple of African refugee friends a few years ago. One was a doctor. He was stuck in there, practice a half a year in Sudan, and he had to flee. You know what I'm saying? He came here selling, fake ass Folexes. You know what I'm saying? Folexes and Fikes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the thing is, I think that everyone, like you said before, there needs to be a bridge program. There needs to be a step-by-step program. But but just trying to filter out only the good ones and the bad ones, I think that creates another precedent, trying to say, okay, well, you're only good because you have a degree, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like saying, okay, yeah, only if you can pass this test, or if only this history test, or only if you can do a certain amount of math. I can understand the language part because you have to communicate with people. But you know how many Americans don't know American history?
Yeah, I get
you
that.
know how many Americans don't know how to speak English?
But no
You know
matter,
what I'm saying? So how can you hold someone else to a precedent? You must do this, blah, 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 So I mean, I think that kind of makes it, a bit strange, So
no, I don't think.
I mean, we can kind of say that, if I let somebody in my house, even if my children are ignorant, still those other people are not my children. I see that point, but it ain't really our house, bro. It ain't really our house because no one you can't say that you really, really, really feel safe that wherever you live, even if you bought that house, it's yours. Like under no circumstances will anyone touch it.
Mm-hmm.
All you need is some executive order saying, I don't care about your constitution, bitch, run your house. We need it for national security.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing shit, bro. I'm sorry. I mean, I just feel that a lot of times we get caught up with saying, okay, trying to pick out the bad apples, whereas trying to pick out the bad apples, doesn't that make you a bad apple yourself?
I mean, yeah, I do think I think it's a double standard. If you're an American citizen, I think you have certain privileges or in America that immigrants don't have. I think, and maybe we don't have to learn the history, but I think it's not so much about learning American history. It's about like you should fill out an application and have like have an action plan of what you're gonna do when you come to America. You're just gonna come to America. You're just gonna come to Sweden. What you gonna do? You don't know anybody. You don't speak the language. What's your action plan? And break those down into tasks and then start doing the tasks that you can do now before you get there. And it's a process to get there. And I know that's a lot easier said than done because I think. Hold it for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a lot easier said than done. A lot of these people are coming from war-strife countries, and they're just trying to flee for their own safety. And that's another issue. That's where United Nations should come in to do something like that to help, And I think, I think the United States of America is since being like, kind of like the kind of like the big brother of the entire world. We have to be, more into world these smaller governments where there are a lot of war strife countries and be able to like sanction these people and like and make the government try to not make them but try to help correct themselves so they won't have so much refugee. And that's easier said than done, of course, because that's been going on since the beginning of time. But
because a lot of people they're fleeing because they don't have a government really.
They're living in anarchy or just chaos. So,
but no, the thing is like you said, I agree with you.
So we need to have so maybe United Nations to start creating a lot of safe havens in a lot of areas where it's like neutral land where it's not that many people and stuff like that, And then from those safe havens, then you can start like boom, you got 1 year to do this bridge program so you can be fully integrated into American society or into Sweden society, or you're going to send you back to your land, your homeland. You know what I'm saying, like that. And then and you got to make people accountable too. It's like it's a tuition for this too. Like once you're done with everything, the money that you make, you're going to pay like 5% back for the cost. You know what I'm saying, like that. You got it. I'm a firm believer in incentivizing people and holding people accountable. Not letting people have free lunches, because when people have free lunches, they take it for granted.
No, definitely. No. In fact, like I said, I agree with you completely. But the only problem is that I find that a lot of countries' immigration systems, and they always talk about a problem with immigration, just like we talk about a problem with crime. But it's the same situation. When you send criminals to prison, let's say this, in the American system, we do very little to rehabilitate them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Prison should be rehabilitative. You know what I'm saying? If it's not rehabilitative, keep them in prison forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because now you put them in prison for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and now they went in as burglars. Now they learn how to commit homicide, how to make drugs. So if you're not rehabilitating them, you're not doing the right thing. Same thing. Like I don't agree with just taking people in. You know what I'm saying? But we're not doing much to try to integrate them, like you said, get them into a 4 or 5 or 6 step program, which is necessary. And I think that also helps out with the topic of today, that helps them be able to say, while they're trying to learn this new culture, being able to also transmit or exude a bit of their culture too. You know what I'm saying? If they're coming, say they're coming to your country and they're like, okay, we're coming here because like you said before, because this is the land they're free, or because my land is war torn. I don't know what the fuck's going on. They're coming, and they're still, most of them are still like frantic. They don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? They're just happy to get over there and not risk being shot. You know what I'm saying? They know that there's a risk of, of being deported, but they know that there's a higher risk of being shot, what I'm saying? If they had stayed, and I think that, okay, yeah, all right, welcome. But now, bro, like you said before, now you're gonna go over there, you're gonna grab this book and you're gonna study it real quick. Tomorrow we're gonna check on you, and we're gonna give you some different ideas about things that could possibly do. Choose one or choose a couple and think about how we can approach, how can we achieve those things, It's kind of like how, for example, you can't blame young adults for not knowing not being financially or fiscally literate when you barely teach it at school. You understand? I mean, you can't expect people or immigrants to come in, even as refugees, and contribute to your society if you never showed them how to contribute.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think we put a lot of people. I think we put a lot of people in a bad situation to a poor situation to succeed. So like they're putting.
Exactly. It's like when the slaves are free. The slaves are like, okay, we're free. Yeah. Now where the fuck are we gonna go now?
Exactly.
So you go back to your boss, like, hey boss, hey massa, can you take me on?
Exactly.
So
they became sharecroppers.
Exactly.
They didn't give blacks, even if you get 40 acres and a mule, you don't know what to do with 40 acres and a mule.
Exactly.
What you gonna do with that? So like they don't set people up to succeed. Of course, some are gonna have the initiative and the ingenuity to be able to learn to figure it out on their own. But the masses of people,
those are going to be what's considered the good apples, and that's what the thing. I don't want to say that, what I'm saying, because I don't think the other people are bad apples necessarily. No, there are some bad apples.
Yeah, but those people are actually the outliers. Those people are the outliers.
I shouldn't have to be excessively, exaggeratedly, over the wall, what I'm saying, just so I can have that initiative enough to be successful. What I'm saying? I don't want to be one of 3, Hispanic multi-billionaires when there's so many other, because I probably had to step on some toes too, So, I mean, I don't know. That's the way I look at it, I think that we get caught up with, saying, okay, yeah, these are bad apples because they came from a bad place. If they came from a bad place, they must be bad. Not necessarily,
Yeah. But they have a likeliness of doing bad actions, because they do come from bad environments, and that's just the nature of anybody. You come from a bad environment, we're often products of our environment. Unless
that's hard to say, bro.
Unless you're an exception.
It's based on your society. Even Germany, even Nazi Germany was like that. There were so many people who were actually against it. You know what I'm saying? But that's the way we look at it. I mean, in the way things are going now, where you are now, in the country where you are now, I don't see things not being so far off. Then what are we going to say in 20 years' time? Oh, those motherfuckers from America are bad apples.
Yeah.
Because all 360 million of those motherfuckers wanted to go to war against everybody and shit on their allies. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, our environment does shape us. You know what I'm saying? But even those who come from a bad environment aren't necessarily bad. And I think that just because those who come from good environments, from PhD wielding families, doctor and lawyer wielding families, don't mean that they're necessarily good apples.
I don't think we should look at. I just don't think we should look at it as good and bad apples. I just think about like actions. It's all about the actions that people
definitely.
And the choices that people make. Then the choices lead to actions, either good or bad. And if you come from a bad upbringing, likeliness is, like we grew up in Inkster, right? We're outliers, but a lot of our friends, a high percentage of our friends didn't do shit in life. They either went to jail or they ended up, working some meaningless job with like a whole bunch of kids. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the nature. They're not bad or good apples. They just made poor
Uh-huh.
choices in life because they didn't know any better. They had a poor education in that way.
Yeah.
And I always
Exactly. It's that education that's needed. So
and I always talk about it's always education. It's not about going to university, but the education
oh, definitely.
the parents give you, your environment gives you, and your community. That's
Exactly.
what shapes you. And I think going back to our broader theme of multiculturalism, we can use different cultures to learn and educate each other. I think that makes us more well-rounded people, and it actually promotes neuroplasticity in the brain, which adds to longevity because we don't think of things just only in one way as being right, but they can be different ways of being right, but still having respect for other cultures. So.
Exactly. No, in fact, that's what I was saying also.